catch I've ever seen.
Receivers, and this time he lost one, and it's picked off.
And Brady and Moss hook up. Great football players showing why they're great.
He's got it. 20, 10. He's got it.
End zone. Touchdown Titans.
And welcome to DFS Advisor, week 4 for us here on the show. I'm again without my co-host. I want to thank Inner Circle Entertainment for bringing a show to you guys and helping us do that. I'd also like to thank Premier Properties, Steve and Nikki, for all you guys do for us, especially on a week like we had this week. You guys are very important people, and we thank you for all of your help. All righty, guys. I'm again without my co-host, Jay. He's out, and Bryce is still busy. However, Bryce been working real heavy duty in behind the scenes to bring the show to you guys week in and week out. So we always want to thank Bryce for everything he's doing for us. And with that, we got a big week headed up in the NFL. You know, this trade deadline is looming. November 4th, it's coming real fast here. Hasn't been a whole lot of movement. There's been some defensive backs moving around. You know, the Patriots have made some moves. I saw Mechie, wide receiver, went from the Eagles to the Jets. And they ended up getting a DB out of the deal there. So no big names really happening. You know, we got the Jacoby Myers rumors. We got the Trey Hendrickson rumors. There's a lot of rumors out there. It's just going to end up being who's got the money to do what and who's going to decide that they're looking for a player to help them out. I'm really looking to see what the Bucs do. I think they're looking for some defensive help. However, their defense played real well in week 8. The Bucs are on a bye this week, so that'll give them some time to try to get healthy. They need it just as bad as the 49ers in the NFC, that's for sure. You know, injuries just seem to be riddling the whole NFL. They're not favoring anybody. Everybody's got their injuries, and everybody's dealing with problems. So, you know, that makes our fantasy lives pretty hectic. I know, you know, the bye weeks used to be the big thing that everybody always had to juggle around. But, boy, these injuries this year sure have decimated the fantasy world and made things tough to stay competitive. You know, you're playing players and taking dart throws to try to make things happen. I know I picked up Perrine on running back for Cincinnati, and I'm like, I don't even know what told me to do it, to be honest with you. But I picked him up in a couple leagues. He was available on the waiver wire, and I'll be damned if he didn't have a great week. And that, you know, Perrine at Cincinnati, that running back saved me in a few leagues. So it's going to take those types of moves, guys, to where someone you really don't think is going to, you know, make a good week, a player that's not a big name. Those are the guys you're going to have to go out and target, especially during these bye weeks. You're really going to have to get creative and take a chance and play some guys that you normally wouldn't play to try to save your seasons. So with that said, a little bit back to this trade deadline stuff. You know, you got your big names, Bryce Hall. Okay. You know, you got Andrews from tight end from the Ravens. You know, a lot of these guys, Olave from the Saints. You know, the Saints, they're making a quarterback change. They're going to go to the rookie. Shook is going to run the show this week. And, you know, the Saints are a team that are really looking past this year and looking to what they're going to try to do to get competitive for next year. So I look for the Saints to be one of the teams that give up some bigger name players. You know, everybody's kind of thought Kamara was going to go somewhere. I don't think so. I think Kamara wants to stay a Saint. I think he wants to retire a Saint. I don't think you'll see him make a change. Now, you know, they've been talking that they're going to make some moves. Olave has been talked about coming out of there. I think it's going to be Shaheed. I think Shaheed is the one that's going to get moved, and I love Shaheed. He's done real well for me in fantasy, outside of his injury timeouts, but he's a good receiver. I think he's as good as Olave. He's a great slot guy. He's great outside the numbers too on the sidelines. I think you'll see him move. There's rumors that Sean Payton's looking for him out there in Denver, trying to pull some strings with his relationship with the Saints. I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be Olave. I think they'll keep him as a centerpiece, and I think Shaheed is the one that you'll see move. Jacoby Myers for the Raiders, I definitely think he's going to get traded. He doesn't want to be there. They don't want to pay him what he wants. They brought Lockett in from Tennessee, kind of under the radar. That was all kind of announced that Lockett just kind of wanted to be let go from the Titans. And next thing you know, he's back out there with Pete Carroll. So I think, the stage is set for Jacoby Myers to be traded. Where he goes, he doesn't have a big tag as far as money. It's not going to take a whole lot of money to get Jacoby Myers. He's a great receiver when he's healthy. I think his injuries that he's, kind of been going through here, I think they're kind of self-made. I don't think he's really hurt that bad to where he couldn't be playing. I think he just doesn't want to play for the Raiders, and I don't think the Raiders want to pay him what he wants. I think Jacoby Myers will probably be one of the first bigger names you see move. I know the Steelers have interest. Metcalf went on record this week and supported Jacoby Myers, so maybe he ends up a Steeler. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Those are the two receivers I think that you'll see move. Jacoby Myers and Shaheed, I think, will be gone. I don't think Andrews, the tight end from the Ravens, go anywhere. I don't think Lamar Jackson is going to let that happen. Breece Hall's been another big name for the Jets, running back, being traded. Does that happen? Does it not? If Allen was healthy, I think maybe the Jets would kind of entertain the thought. But outside of Davis being behind Hall, I don't think that the Jets can really afford to do it unless they're just going to flat-ass tank. So I don't really have a good feeling that Hall's going to be traded. So we'll see how that goes. On the defensive side, Trey Hendrickson has been the talk all through camp that, he wasn't happy in Cincinnati, wasn't getting his money, wasn't getting signed. Trey Hendrickson's been the one that everybody's kind of been after. You got your Crosby people, but the Raiders aren't going to let go of Crosby. So Trey Hendrickson is really the best defensive player really out there that people want to get. I think that battle has come down to the 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. We'll see. We'll see who's got the money to do it, because at the end of the day, it's all about the money. It's all about cap space. It's all about dollars. It's all about who you want to get rid of. And, I got a list here of the cap space. You guys aren't probably going to be able to read that real well. It's not a real great print, but it looks like the Patriots got the most money to spend cap space wise, $54 million. Then you got the Cowboys at $31 million, the Redskins at $26 million. Excuse me, I got the hiccups, guys. The Lions come in at fourth with $25 million. The 49ers there at $23 million. Okay. So if Jerry Jones wants to get throwing his weight around, okay, so maybe he'd spend the money and bring him in there. Is Cincinnati going to let the guy roll? I don't know. Cincinnati doesn't like to pay people. It's been a rocky road. Do I think Hendrickson gets traded? Man, I'd love to see him get out of Cincinnati. I'd really like to see him get to the Bucs. I don't think that'll happen. They don't have the money. So I think it's gonna fall somewhere in the top 5 with the 49ers and the Cowboys are going to battle that out to see who they get. I'm going to take a drink here, guys. Hang on a second. I got to find it. Got the hiccups back. But anyway, so I think he's going to get traded. Does it happen in the next couple days? I doubt it. But, man, my heart's telling me he's going to get traded. So I think it's going to come down to the Cowboys and the 49ers on Hendrickson. Jacoby Myers, I think, goes. Olave, I think, stays. Shaheed, I think, gets traded. Andrews stays. Those are my top ones. There's been talk about Waddle down in Miami. How in the hell can they get rid of Waddle? You got all these big talking heads, talking about Waddle getting traded from Miami. I don't see that. How are they going to do that? That I think that's just a pipe dream there. You got some folks looking for other defensive players that I think could happen. Seattle's looking for an offensive lineman. They got to do something. I think you see Seattle make a move for some offensive line help. I think you see the Bucs make a move for some defense. I think Indy's looking for cornerbacks, defensive backs. I think you'll see some movement there. Some of these guys that are available down in Miami on the defensive side, there's rumors of some of these guys, Brooks. Now, Brooks is another big money guy. This guy, I'm getting a little inside information on this guy, and Jason Light, not afraid to play with a cap, not afraid to play with money. I think either Jordan Brooks or Chubb out of Miami could end up at the Bucs. So either one of them, I would be happy with. Riddick's been he's suffering a leg injury down there. He's not playing. The Bucs had a great defensive game week 8. There's no doubt. But they need defensive help. So either one of these two guys, either Brooks or Chubb, I think would be a great addition to the Bucs defense. They got Judon down there too, but he's kind of played around. He was at the Patriots, then he ends up over in Atlanta for a short stint. Now, Judon is probably out of these 3, probably the cheapest one to move. Do they get off of this guy? I don't know where Miami's headed. Tyreek Hill is definitely going to be gone. I don't think that happens till the offseason. He's on IR. Ain't nobody going to pick him up to make a playoff run. So Hill's really not in the mix of the trade deadline, in my opinion. However, he will not be a Miami Dolphin next year. I believe that in my heart. So, Miami is playing the Ravens this week. We've got all this going on with, Lamar Jackson and his injury. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? I definitely think he's playing this week because he said last week he's going to come back for Miami game. I think, you guys are safe in fantasy leagues to play Lamar this week. I think he's going to be a hard go. I wouldn't be afraid of putting him in your lineup. And how does this game play out? Okay, Tua's coming off a good game. He had a great game last week. Achane had a good game. Ollie Gordon's showing a little bit of what he's capable of. I think as time goes on, in Miami sees they're really not making the playoffs. I think you'll see Ollie Gordon play more. So you guys that have Ollie Gordon on your fantasy team, I wouldn't be afraid to put him in a flex on any given week. I know I'm playing him in a guillotine league this week that I could be eliminated in. But I got confidence enough that he's a good enough flex player to get me some points. He had a great week this week. He had a touchdown. So it's going to be a touchdown dependent deal with Gordon, but I think Ollie Gordon's going to get some touches. I think Miami's going to back off from what they're, really trying to do and look into next year. I think, I was way wrong on McDaniels getting tossed. I think he'll be there throughout the season, and Miami's just going to look to reboot. This Thursday night game, who do I think is going to win this? Both defenses are not playing that great. And if anything, I think coming off the week Miami had, I think Miami's got the edge on defense, but I just don't think they're going to be able to overcome Henry, Lamar. These guys are going to put up some points. I think this is probably an easy 9, 10, 12-point win for the Ravens. Tomorrow night. I think it'll be a good game to watch. I just don't see Miami being able to overcome and win with the Ravens here. So I'd definitely be placing all my bets on players from the Ravens. Achane, I think will have a good game. Washington, I think will have a good game. They don't have a tight end presence. So Waddle should be able to take, and score you some points. So I'm definitely starting Waddle. But that's our Thursday night look at that. And we'll move into some other sports that are happening. I watched a little bit of this last night. I watched some World Series last night, and Toronto tied this game up. It's 2-2. So they got a game tonight at LA, and then they move back to Toronto. I definitely think this one's going to go the distance. Ohtani had the dude's got great smoke. He really does got a very good variety of pitches. I was watching some of his pitches last night, and it's like, this guy can throw the baseball. He's, I think, struggling a little bit with his accuracy, especially with his slow breaking ball. I just don't think he's got the control over that slow breaking ball that he had early on in the season. And I think he's struggling with that pitch. He really relied on that in the beginning of the season. I think he's struggling there. His fastball is the best in baseball. So we'll see how that goes. He struggled a little bit last night. He's still a great hitter. It's great to see a guy that plays both sides of the ball in baseball. Not only hitting, running the bases, you can say designated hitter, but when he gets on base, they let him stay there and he runs. So I'm looking forward to this series. I didn't think Toronto had a chance, but after watching the game last night, I truly believe Toronto's got a chance to win this World Series. So we'll see where it goes. They hung in there last night. They made pretty good work of the Dodgers last night. We'll see where that ends up. But so we got the World Series happening. And then, of course, we got NASCAR going on. We've been talking a little bit of NASCAR. Byron came in and won at Martinsville. William Byron's a great Hendrick driver. You got him and Larson, both Hendrick drivers, against Hamlin and Briscoe, both being Gibbs. So it's kind of the Gibbs-Hendrick show this week out in Phoenix. Larson's going in there based on points. The other three definitely have wins. Does one of these four win the race? If you look at the past history in the chase, it's usually come down to somebody that's already won going into Phoenix, or one of the points guys that are up front there. So Denny Hamlin's definitely good at Phoenix. Larson, is good at Phoenix. One of these other guys could come back in that don't have a win and have locked in, and the points are close enough. Somebody else could win this and win the championship. But I think Larson's going to end up pulling this off, if you want to know the truth. Larson is just a great pedigree. He's a great winner. I think Hendrick walks away with this championship, and I think Larson's the one that's going to do it. So that's our NASCAR update going to Phoenix. I think that's November 2nd, I think, out there. Is it 4th? November 2nd, I think, is when they race out there to end the chase and the championship for NASCAR, and we'll get that out of the way. I know we got some NBA basketball going on tonight. We're week 2 of NBA. I've got some fantasy leagues that I'm playing in. It's been kind of fun doing the new lock-in leagues that Sleeper is profiling. They're kind of cool, guys. So I know some of you March Madness guys that play fantasy football, get involved in March Madness. Try a lock-in league for Sleeper. They're pretty cool. You know, it allows you to play a player tonight. If you really don't like his score and he's playing, you know, Thursday night or Friday night, Saturday night or Sunday night, you don't have to lock in his score that he plays tonight. If you think he's going to do better Friday night, you can hold off and wait. If he doesn't do better, that score that he scored, let's say on Tuesday, it goes away, and you know, you're kind of stuck with what he's got going forward. So it's kind of cool. I've been enjoying it, and I'm not a great basketball fan. However, some of these basketball leagues I've been these startups I've been doing for this year, they've been pretty fun so far in week 2. So if you're an NBA fan, check into Sleeper, check the lock-in leagues. They're pretty fun. Guys are still drafting them now, even though the season started. You can still get in on those and have a great time playing fantasy basketball. Going to kind of shift gears a little bit. This one hits a little bit home to me. You know, I spent some time with these guys as a guest on their show. They've been putting together a podcast for you guys that are in fantasy football. These guys do fantasy football better than anybody I know. Sean and Scott are getting ready to come back live. They're going to bring it to you guys full force. Sean's got his shit together. He's a great podcaster. He's a lot of fun. He's real. He's not, you know, one of these plastic guys that tell you the things you want to hear. He gets on air and he has a good time. And you know, Scott's a real knowledgeable guy when it comes to football. He's my age. He's been around the rope. His advice is good, especially in the DFS world. These guys are coming back on air November 4th, trade deadline day. So after you see the trade deadline all done, these guys are going to recap it for you, and they're going to do it in a way that nobody else does it. So don't miss these guys. They're great people. You'll have a lot of fun on their podcast. I'm not sure what time it's going to air. I didn't lock that in. That's my bad. But I can tell you that it is on the 4th, and that is a Tuesday, and they're going to make their return. I know there's a lot of people looking forward to hearing these guys back on air. I know I am, and I know you'll like their content. They also have their sudden death fantasy sports. Check this out, guys. 96 subscribers, okay? These guys been off the air for going on 3 months. They're getting ready to make their return. They have not lost their following, and they are coming back. They're rebranded. They have a vision, and they're coming at you full force. So don't miss these guys, whether it's in sudden death. Get on their website. Get into their stuff. There's nobody that does fantasy football better than these guys. So I'm looking forward to Scott and Sean coming back on the air. So don't miss their stuff. And all right, so we're going to move on a little bit, and we're going to talk about some of these injuries that are going on. You know, I know the Bucks have got Evans out. Does he make it back? Does he not? I don't really think it matters to anybody, because I don't think Mike Evans is going to make it back to do his 1,000-yard record he's got going on. So I hope he just sits back and gets healthy. I think Mbuka will be strong coming back. And Tez, the guy in the background on my background right now, guys, this kid is for real. Mayfield went on record this week saying this kid's for real. So I think they're struggling offensive wise. I don't know if it's in their scheme. I don't know if it's in their, busted up offensive line, but I'm sure Todd Bowles and them guys down there, they'll get it straightened out. And this bye week couldn't have happened to a better team falling right now. They definitely need to get healthy and get back. They got a great record. They got a good jump on Atlanta for the division. I think they'll be okay for the playoffs, if not even, secure the seed, in the division. So looking forward to the Bucs getting healthy, enjoying their time off this week, and look forward to them coming back in week 10. I know that it's a big week for a lot of us that are in our specialized leagues. I want to send a big good luck to all my league mates that are in the triathlon / gauntlet leagues that we're in. I miss chatting with you guys every day. Just wasn't meant to be, but I still value you guys as league mates. I'm still enjoying the leagues. I look forward to how it's all going to play out. Week 9 starts our guillotine, and everybody's going to start, getting chopped as we go. And I'm looking forward to how that plays out. I'm not doing too bad. I'm 50-50 on my 9 leagues there that I got, 9 or 10, whatever they are. But I'm really excited about it. It was a brand new kickoff deal that Ballsville was doing, joint effort with everybody. And guys, I'm really looking forward to it. Really, really am. I'm excited to see how it plays out. I don't even know how it's going to end up, to be honest with you. But it's one of them deals to where it's almost like a bracket deal. And, we play redraft in the beginning. We play guillotine in the middle, and then it switches to best ball at the end. So with all these injuries and everything that's happened, who knows how it's going to play out. But I'm excited for it. And I know all you guys that got dynasty leagues, these dynasty leagues, whether you did a startup or you're a 5-year vet and you guys got great balance, I don't care how it's going. I know I'm struggling all the way around with injuries and buys right now. It's crazy. And if you got any type of bench, especially like in a Devy league, if you got deep benches, it's hard to find replacements on the waiver wire. So waivers are really, really a big deal on who you're going to get, especially with a trade deadline. You don't know if these guys are going to end up somewhere else. Running backs are scarce. Quarterbacks are getting banged up. Wentz is out, season-ending injury. So what's Minnesota doing for a backup quarterback? Well, you want to know the truth? I'll bet you they go after Kirk Cousins. You watch and see. Right now they got their rookie in there, a rookie. J.J. McCarthy's supposed to be coming back, but then they got a rookie backup. What are they going to do? They're not quite really out of the playoff picture, but it's coming quick. The departure of Sam Darnold going to Seattle, I think, really hurt their program. I'm sure somebody in that organization's kicking themselves in the ass with letting Darnold go. And then, then you got Daniel Jones down there in Indy, where he walked away from that deal up there. They didn't want to give him money. He went down there, and Daniel Jones is having a great year. They're even talking MVP type year, but I don't think he's MVP worthy with everybody else that's in the picture, but he's definitely going to get Indy into the playoffs. And Indy's no joke, guys. You've heard me talk about the Indianapolis Colts, and they are balanced. They are balanced. They're probably the most balanced team in the NFL, if you want my opinion. You can talk about the Bills. You can talk about the Chiefs. You can talk about the Lions. But I don't think anybody is as balanced. Offensive line, defensive line, running back, wide receiver. Pittman has picked up the pace. He's proven that he's worthy to be the number one down there. Downs is back off his concussion. Pierce has picked up the pace, and they got the rookie Warren. You guys know how I feel about Indy. I definitely think they're in it for the long haul. I definitely think they're primed to be a very good contender for this year. The Chiefs proved this week that they can play football. Mahomes has definitely got his shit back together. They got Rice back. Kelsey had a great game for you fantasy guys. I think he had over 20 points. I know he did me well in a few leagues. Running back, they're struggling. Pacheco, I guess, is hurt. They got a rookie in the background coming back, but I think Hunt is the play there for now for the running back. I think the Chiefs are definitely in the driver's seat and are going to come back. The Broncos defense is definitely keeping them in play. Nix is kind of turned around his play. I think they're struggling a little bit at wide receiver. I know they Mercedes Lewis, guys. How many of you young guys know who Mercedes Lewis is? Okay, guys, 41 years old, tight end. I don't know how many times he's retired, but I think it's more than once. He's back. They picked him up. I really don't know what's going on out there at the tight end position, but it's probably injury related. So I think the Broncos are, a team that are going to stay in it. I'm really surprised with the Patriots. I'm a little let down with their rookie running back. I was hoping for a whole lot more out of him. Diggs has been steady. For you guys that are playing fantasy with Diggs, you got to play Diggs if he's healthy and in the lineup. Douglas has come back and made a few good games, made a few good catches. Again, I think he's touchdown dependent. Henry, on the other hand, tight end wise, he's up and down. Hooper's been taking a lot of those throws and a lot of the snaps. His snap count's been right up there with Henry. So that's a kind of touch and go tight end world. Fannin is probably, outside of Warren, been the rookie tight end besides Gladstone out there in LA. It's been a great tight end rookie group, especially in the fantasy world. I mean, Fannin is someone I would try to target, trade for. Njoku, I think you could probably see get traded. Whether that happens before the deadline or not, I don't know, but Njoku's definitely up for trade. So Fannin's prepared and ready to take over that tight end room. There's talk that Judy may be on the trade block. I don't know how they do that. It's kind of a touch and go deal. I know, Garrett was so upset with the points he had. I put in a chat room in Discord that I got Garrett, score more points in fantasy than anybody. I mean, the dude had 60 points in an ADP league. I mean, the guy had a career week, a career game, and they still couldn't pull it off and win the game. So I was a little let down for him. I was hoping they'd win that game, but I don't know how many of you guys play IDP, but Myles Garrett had a game of the century as far as I'm concerned, 60-some fantasy points. But so with all that said, we're going to wind it down tonight. It's been a real rough week for me. The hurricanes in Jamaica kind of brought back some memories for us here in Hernando Beach, Florida. Our hearts are really going out to the folks in Jamaica. I know firsthand what it's like to have 5 foot of water in your house and 100-mile-an-hour winds slapping up against the side of your house. It's scary, guys, and it's real. And the folks in Jamaica just got their asses whipped by a hurricane out there, one of the biggest hurricanes ever in the Atlantic Basin. I think it's tied with Wilma, and I actually was in Wilma also down in Weston, Florida, when that hit in 2005. So hurricanes are a real deal to us that live down here in Florida. And so our hearts are going out to the people in Jamaica. and just have your prayers with Bermuda. That's where it's headed next. I think it's just coming off the coast of Cuba now and headed up there. So hurricanes are a real deal. They're scary. They are life-changing. And I'd like to throw a big shout out to Sean. Sean, I'll never forget the times that you brought me through the hurricane times here. That'll be a memory I'll never, ever let go, man. You brought fantasy football to me and happiness to me during a real time of need. And so I just want to keep everybody in our thoughts and prayers in Jamaica. I want to follow up on something we're doing with our charity, with our Tailgaters Deluxe. We're taking that to people that are not so fortunate to run out to your local sports bar and catch a game. They're not, they're either handicapped, disabled. They either, have an illness, but yet they still want to watch sports. My wife is a caregiver and brought something to the forefront to me. And it's something that we're pursuing and taking football and tailgating to the homes of some of these people. Last week we had a chance to do it. It was a great time. A friend of mine asked me, he said, "Hey, Jimmy, did you get any pictures? Did you get any video?" Well, I learned with this particular instance that we weren't able to do it for HIPAA law reasons, but we do have one scheduled this week that won't have HIPAA laws. So we're hoping to bring some of that footage to you and see some of the smiles that it brings to some of these people that aren't so fortunate. They're struggling with disease, cancer, lung disease, heart problems, whatever you want to call it, dementia. And just to see a smile on their face has been kind of cool. My wife takes care of this older fella that's a big-time baseball guy. And all day long, he's got dementia real bad, but he knows his baseball. And he'll always say to my wife, "Hey, can you turn that TV on baseball? I want to watch baseball." And so my wife, she's trying to hit all the stations and figure out his TV and find the stations for him, but he's always wanting to watch baseball. So we're going to try to bring him some sports and put a smile on his face. I know the family that came to the tailgate that we did this last week, a few of them came from 80, 100 miles away to be with their family member and enjoy sports. So that was something that put a smile on my face, put a smile on my wife's face. And in today's world, it's all about being happy, guys, and enjoying things. So we're looking forward to that. Our charity's getting up and going. So just stay plugged into our Discord, Jimbo's Hot Takes on our Discord. You guys can hit that up. Our website will be posted soon. It's still under construction. Bryce is finishing up the touches on our website. And hopefully we can get back to doing some of the guests, getting you guys some pro athlete interviews with our Tampa media stuff. So everything's coming together. It's probably not coming together as quick as Jimbo's would want it to. If anybody knows me real well, you know that I don't normally play around, and we usually get things done and go, balls to the wall to get it done. However, from a legality standpoint, insurance standpoint, some of these things I'm learning as I go. I'm definitely not all that computer person, but it's been real fun. So we're putting that together. And then I know I would be really bad guy if I didn't pay some homage to my co-host, Jay. Jay, wherever you are, Las Vegas, New York, Canada, wherever you're working this week. I know you're traveling because you're not here, but we're going to talk a little bit of college football. College football is huge, guys. This NIL has gotten way out of control. These guys are getting paid, 18, 19, 20 years old. These guys are making big bucks. So some things in this top 25 that I got to point out. Indiana is staying true. They're staying strong. They got a great coaching staff, great football team. These guys are staying right behind Ohio State. and that's good to see. Alabama has been working their way up through this top 25, guys. Alabama, even without Nick Saban, they're still doing their thing. They're moving up. They're staying competitive. Oregon's down there, number 6. They're staying up there. Ole Miss dropped a little bit after losing to Georgia. They're still there. I am a little concerned about the Hurricanes. I know Jay's got some interest in the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes are kind of, a couple weeks ago they were up there, number 2, number 3. They're dropping kind of steady. So I'm a little concerned about the Hurricanes. Vanderbilt. I don't know if you guys checked out the pregame show with McAfee and all them guys, Nick Saban and everybody that does the college football pregame, but they were in Vanderbilt and did the Vandy pregame. And Vandy's no joke, guys. I'm going to let this play out a couple more weeks, get a little bit more confident, but I'm going to do a Jimbo's hot takes, I think, on Vandy here pretty soon. I'm kind of feeling it in my gut on Vandy. I think Vandy's going to make a play to make these playoffs and get in here and make some noise. I thought Tennessee would be doing a little bit better than they're doing. They're kind of back and forth. I see my Oklahoma Sooners down there. I got some big DV interest in the Oklahoma Sooners. I'd like to see Oklahoma move up a little bit. I'm not a big Texas fan. Really don't care where they're at. U of M, Scotty, you better get a grip on your U of M guys there. They're not doing too well down there. I see they're struggling a little bit, but got some Michigan roots, and we'll see how that plays out. So look forward to our DV leagues. Jay's working hard to get our startups ready. So those of you that are big fantasy guys that have never done a Devi league or a C2C league, make sure you stay plugged in because we're doing a big launch. Devi leagues are going to be something that Inner Circle Entertainment really is going to put a lot of our time, our money, our efforts into Devi this year. We have a few other specialty leagues we're going to do this year that I think you guys are going to find fun. You can find those on our Discord at Jimbo's Hot Takes. The leagues are not available for you to join yet. However, you can see the leagues and their formats of what we are going to offer. They're going to start dropping sometime in December. All the Inner Circle leagues will be available to the public in December. So we're looking forward to that. And so with all that said, I think I'm going to say goodnight. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I didn't get a chance to go down through chat. I see Kyle's out there. Kyle's out there. Lisa's out there. Scotty Fitzgerald's out there sniping the show. Scott and Sean, I wish you guys the best of luck. I'm so looking forward to your show. So good luck with that. I'm glad to see you guys did it a little earlier than anticipated. And I know you guys have been chomping at the bit, so it's going to be fun. So you guys don't miss these guys, this fantasy press box and sudden death. Make sure you guys hook up and watch them on Tuesday night next week. So with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump out of here. If you guys got any questions, you can look me up in Discord, Jimbo's Hot Takes in Discord. And then we're here every Wednesday night working through this stuff that we call fun and fantasy football. So y'all have a good night. Peace. Love y'all. See you.